Read my mind.
Right. All right. Let me take our prayer, please. Master of all worlds, highest power, merciful parent of compassion, in your presence, eternal one, source of strength for us as you have been for our ancestors, we very humbly acknowledge you. What are we? What is our life that you have done such great kindness to us? Therefore, we place our appeals before you so that you may forgive and absolve us of all our faults and failings. Let our faults never become barriers between us and you. And may it be your desire to prepare our hearts to feel awe and love for you. May you listen to these words of ours, and may you open our encumbered hearts through the mysteries of your Torah. May this, our study, be a source of pleasure before your throne of glory, like sweet incense. May you shower down upon us the light of our soul source in all the ways by which we define ourselves. May the sparks of your holy servants, through whom you have revealed these words to the world, shine and sparkle. May their merit, their ancestors' merit, and the merit of their Torah, their innocence, and their holiness stand for us, so as to prevent us from stumbling when we study these words. In their merit, may our eyes be illumined by what we study, as in the saying of the sweet singer of Israel, open my eyes, that I may gaze into wonders of your Torah. May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. For it is the Eternal who grants wisdom. It is from his mouth that knowledge and understanding issue forth. Na 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 na. Na na na. Na 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 na. Oh na na na. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Na 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 na. Ah na 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 na. Ah na 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 na. Ah na 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 na. Ah na 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 na. Ah na na. Ah na 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 na. Oh no no no, ah na 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 na, oh no 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 no, ah na 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 na, ah na 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 na, ah na 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 na, ah na 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 na. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. No 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. We're on page 348, and we're talking about the well. Jacob comes upon a well after he comes into civilization, after leaving that special place where he had his vision. And the Zohar says this is the same well Moses came upon, and this well is Shechina. This well is the vessel that accepts all of the flow from the divine above. And the well's waters rose up toward Jacob, and that's how Jacob knew that this was the time where he would find the partner that he would unite with for his life. And behold, there comes Rachel. And similarly with Moses. We're at the bottom, the last paragraph on 348, come and see. Okay, so I don't know. Oh, look at that. Beryl, you beat everybody to it. Go ahead.
Come and see. This well is inscribed 7 times in this section, alluding to 7, and so it is called Beersheba, well of 7. A well mentioned 7 times in the section, as is written. He looked, and here, a well in the field.
Number 1. Keep going.
For from that well.
Number 2.
And the stone on the mouth of the well was large.
3.
They would roll the stone off the mouth of the well.
4.
And they would put the stone back on the mouth of the well.
5.
Until all the flocks are gathered, and they roll the stone off the mouth of the well.
6.
He rolled the stone off the mouth of the well. See? 7. Certainly so.
Right. So here the Zohar walks us through a very remarkable literary feature of that paragraph. In just a few sentences, the word well is mentioned 7 times. Of course, implicitly, the argument being, look, if you're within a certain, close knit text, you don't have to say the well, the well, the well. You could say it, or some. You could refer to it. We know what it is, so you could, you don't have to say the word each time. The fact that the Torah mentions the word explicitly 7 times, this is important. So the way that the Zohar now sees the words the Be'er Sheva, it's the well of 7. Right? Be'er means well, Be'er Sheva, well of, and then Sheva here is understood as 7. We're introduced to Be'er Sheva, of course, a number of times in the Torah, and 7 sometimes factors in when we have, for instance, the story with Abraham and Avimelech. The end of Genesis chapter 21. So this is verse 27. So Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave it to Avimelech. They cut a pact between them, a covenant, a brit. Vayatzev Avram et sheva kivsot hatzon levadhem. And then Abraham sets up 7 of these sheep separately. And Avimelech says to Abraham, what are these 7 that you've set aside? So then Abraham answers, Ki et sheva kvasot tikach miadi, you'll take these 7. So this should be the testimony. This is making it official that this is my well. Your men have been giving me trouble with the wells, and now this well will be recognized as being my well by the fact that you have cut this covenant with me, and the 7 sheep are the payment I'm giving to you to make sure that this is confirmed. And then the Torah says, Al kain kara lamakom ahu be'er shava. And therefore they called this place Beersheba, Kisham. And what would we explain? What would we expect next? Why is it called Beersheba? So we would expect because of those 7 sheep, a well of the 7. No, the Torah says Kisham nishbe'u shnehem, because the well is where they swore to each other. So the word Sheva is Shvu'ah, an oath, right? To swear an oath. So that's the pact, the covenant that happened between Abraham and Avimelech. So the Torah plays with this 7 business and also this Sheva as being Shvu'ah, an oath. Here, the Zohar takes it as 7, but not 7 sheep, but rather the 7 forces of God's energy that are collected within the 7th focus of divine energy, which is Shekhinah, right? So if you go from Chesed through Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut, that's 7 divine foci of energy, of life, of giving. And the 7th, of course, is Malchut. She takes in from everything else, and she is the well of 7, right? She has those 7 aspects of God all collected within her. But I want to say that in the background, Shvuah, the oath, is still something important because all of these 7 are, of course, totally linked with each other. Right? They totally have to be in concert with each other. They have to be in covenant with each other. They work together. So Beersheba is a name now for Malchut, for Shekhinah, and the well. Okay. Now the Zohar notices something else. Next page.
Concerning Moses, though, it is inscribed only once, as is written. He settled in the land, he settled in the land of Midian, and he sat upon the well.
That's 1.
For Moses separated himself completely from the house below.
Okay, there's nothing else mentioned. The well. It's not mentioned so many times. It's only mentioned that 1 time. So we would think that would indicate that Jacob's experience with the well is superior, right? It's mentioned 7 times with Jacob. By Moses, it's only mentioned once. So Nebuch, Moses doesn't have as many mentions of the well by him. The Zohar goes the opposite direction. The Zohar says that actually it's only 1 for a very, very good reason. For Moses separated himself completely. Go ahead.
Well, Jacob did not separate at all. Of Moses, 1, as is written, 1 is my dove, my perfect one, only 1 of her mother. So Moses, as master of the house, ascending on high. Of Moses is written, He sat upon the well. Of Jacob is written, he looked, and here, a well in the field, and not, he sat upon the well.
There's a distance between Jacob's experience of the well and Moses. Moses' experience of the well is absolutely direct. He sits on the well. Jacob sees the well from afar. He notices the well. He interacts with the well for sure, but he never ends up finding his seat on the well. So Moses is at one with the well. Moses is completely united with the well. He is, as it says here, the master of the house. He's the balabas. And the house, of course, is Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the house. Beito zo ishto. The house is his house is his wife, right? That's the home is the wife. This is the woman of the house. So therefore, it's only written once for Moses. But for Jacob, he was a person who was completely connected with Shekhinah, but not at one. And why was that so? So for Moses, completely separated himself from the house below. The house below, meaning the real flesh and blood wife. He took to wife Shekhinah to the exclusion of his earthly wife. This is one way of understanding the complaint that Miriam says to Aaron, well, who does he think he is? Why is he separating himself from his wife? That's one way that episode is understood. That Moses, after he goes, he prepares himself to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, never again had intimate relations with his wife or with anyone. So Moses was united only with God. Moses was married to God. We say, Tfilah LaMoshe. This is a psalm that we say Shabbat mornings. It's Psalm 90 or 91 or something like that. Tfilah LaMoshe, Ish HaElokim. Moses is Elokim's husband. Right? That's the way we read. That's the way the Zohar and the rabbis read that phrase. Moshe Ish HaElokim. Not just a person who is suffused with godliness, but he's my husband. Elohim says that here's Moses. Moses is my partner, my life partner, my spouse. So Jacob, of course, never, at least not for, until I don't know when, we don't know of Jacob separating himself from his wife. You can't separate from yourself from your wife or wives and have 12 children. So he had to invest himself in his earthly unions and couldn't only be united with Shekhinah herself. So this is, of course, taking as a kind of a premise what we would identify today as a more of a Christian kind of idea, that true union with God would require abstaining from distractions of having any kind of intimate, intense relationship with somebody else. So you marry God and you don't marry anybody else. That's the celibacy idea in the Catholic Church and in some other religious traditions. So here the Zohar seems to be buying that as not completely necessary, but as definitely a higher status than people who are engaged in the dual relationships of the house below and the house above. All right, any comments on these things so far? Okay, then we keep going.
Alternatively, Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran.
So hold on a second. Now let's just notice, even though we have the word Beersheba here, so that's linking us to our previous text, right? But we've actually got all the way back to the first verse of the Torah reading, of the Torah portion. So we've gotten pages and pages that have brought us along through the vision. He's running away from Beersheba. He comes to Haran. What does that mean? He has the vision in that place. Okay, what does that mean? Then he goes to a well. What does that mean? So we've gotten through actually a nice little piece of the Torah text. Now, davar acher. Now let's get through a different way of considering this whole matter from the first verse. So we've gotten all the way back. We've rewound back to the first verse.
Happy are those who preserve justice, who perform righteousness all the time. Happy are those who preserve justice. Happy are Israel, to whom the Blessed Holy One has given Torah of truth, in which to engage day and night.
Okay, so the word in Hebrew is Shomrei Mishpat. That's the phrase of preserving justice. Like we say, Shomrei Emunah, guardians of the faith. So this is preserving justice. And now that what is preserve? How do you preserve justice? So the Zohar says, what does it mean, preserving justice? It means holding on to and engaging in the Torah. The Torah is mishpat. The Torah is justice. The Torah is the source of all justice. The Torah is justice. Shomrei mishpat, those who keep the Torah, those who guard the Torah, those who take care of the Torah, they preserve the Torah. So they engage day and night in busying themselves in finding out what the Torah is all about. How is that so important?
Because whoever engages in Torah gains total freedom. Freedom from death, which has no power over him, as has been established.
Okay, let's stop for a second. So this is a pretty strong statement. It reflects rabbinic teaching as well. So let's look at note 240.
Sure. 239. Whoever engages in Torah gains total freedom. Freedom from death. See,
Rabbi.
Engraved upon the tablets.
Right, the word in Hebrew is charut. Charut al haluchot. That's the way that the Ten Commandments, the two tablets, are described in Exodus. Okay.
Do not read harut, engraved, but rather freedom. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nehemiah, and the rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda said, freedom from the angel of death. Rabbi Nehemiah said, freedom from kingdoms. The rabbis said, freedom from suffering.
See Babylonian Talmud, Eruvin, etc. on the notion
that the angel of death is powerless against one engaged in Torah.
See all those sources. So the angel of death is completely incapable of overcoming someone, taking control of someone who is engaged in Torah. So that's the idea of being free of death. And, the three rabbis say there are three different freedoms. It's a little bit like they didn't quite hear FDR's speech, so they have the three freedoms. So the three freedoms are: one is freedom from death, one is freedom from suffering. That's the last one. What's the middle one? Political freedom. Freedom from kingdoms, freedom from oppression, freedom from tyranny, freedom from other powers, governments that are going to force us to do or not to do things against our will. So that's the middle one. So these are our three serious concerns in the world: human suffering, political, social problems, and then mortality itself. And that's, of course, the one that the Zohar singles out as being the total freedom. The total freedom is to be free of being a mortal, of being a mortal. Yeah, Sandra.
Are you saying that
I can't hear you. You have to talk closer to the mic or something.
Sorry. Are you saying that there's a concept of eternal life?
Yes.
And who achieved that?
Looks like Elijah achieved it,
Oh, okay.
right? And then righteous people achieve it after death.
So it's not on this plane of existence, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to make sure I wasn't missing somebody who was,
Right.
Okay.
Right. So this world is, and we're going to get to it in a minute.
Okay.
You know, death is here, but death can be transcended. Death can be defeated. Death can be put off. There's
But
a
you lose
well-known
your body.
what?
You lose your mortal body.
Right, but
Okay.
that's irrelevant.
Okay.
That's not the realm of eternity. That's not the concern. As the Zohar is going to exactly make that very clear in another minute.
Okay.
The story is a well-known story that King David knew that he was living on borrowed time, literally. We had it in the Zohar way back that when the first human, Adam, is shown the whole panorama of human history, he sees King David, and King David lives for a second. That's it. And Adam says to God, "What kind of business is that? This is how can King David be King David if he has no human life?" So he is moved to give to David 70 years of his own life.
Mhm.
When you check in the Torah, the first Adam lives 930 years, right? So we notice it's 70 years less than 1,000 years, which would be a day. One day in God's eyes is 1,000 years. So how did the 70 years disappear from Adam? The answer is go look and see what the story is by David. David actually lives at 70 years. So the 70 years that were originally part of the plan for Adam are a gift to David. So David knew that he was living, tenuously. What did he do? He would, and he knew that he was going to be taken away on Shabbat. So he's, after all, Shekhinah's incarnation, the seven, right? So every Shabbat he would learn nonstop. He would learn and learn and learn, and then the Malach HaMaves, the angel of death, would be hovering there by the window to try to snatch his soul away, but he couldn't touch him because he was studying Torah without stopping. And then finally, he created a distraction. He created a big noise, and for a second, David got shocked, and he looked up from his Pritzker edition of the Zohar, and that's when the angel of death was able to take advantage. That one fleeting second of not studying the Torah, that was all the angel of death needed, and he took David's soul. So that's what we have here. To engage day and night in the Torah gives one total freedom. So, I mean, this is almost, so simple, but obviously the simplest things are also the deepest things. That mortality is the essence of all slavery. That mortality is the essence of all bondage. Because it's not just political bondage, it's not just the kingdoms, but it's the fact that we know that we can't keep on going. We cannot go forever. We know that no matter what we try to do, no matter how good we are, no matter how much we give, no matter what kind of merits we have accrued in our life of righteousness, we know that we're not going to get into the promised land, right? We're not going to get to the other side. We're going to be stopped. We're going to be stopped in our tracks. And that is, of course, the existentialists talk about this forever and ever and ever and ever. But the consciousness that we have, that we are mortal, totally affects what we do. If we were free of that concern, who knows what we would decide to do? Who knows how we would relate to each other? Who knows what we would accomplish or not accomplish? Would we feel that we had to accomplish things? Would we feel free from any responsibility? Or would we feel free that we could, achieve our most fantastical dreams? Because there would be nothing stopping us at all. So, no, we're mortal. We're not free of that weight. But the Torah frees us. I was just at a Shiva Minyan a little while ago, and Beryl was there also. And you've been, David was there the other night. The evening prayers that we recite a blessing right before the Shema. Right? 2 blessings. The evening service, Mariv, starts with 2 blessings that introduce the Shema. So the second blessing is Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Hafta Torah Mitzvot Chukim Mishpatim Otanu Limanata. You have loved us an eternal love, a world-encompassing love, right? You've given us the Torah. And then what do we say about this Torah? Ki heim chayenu v'orech yameinu. That the words of the Torah, the laws and the paths of the Torah, they are the length of our days. Orech yameinu, right? When we say Psalm 23, we also said that tonight. We say V'shavti b'veis Hashem le'orech yamim, right? Let me sit in God's home for long days. So that's eternity, right? And now we're saying, guess what? What God gave us in this life is orech yamim. Orech yameinu, the length of our days is the Torah. So does anybody want to speak to that at all? Does that mean anything to us? And in what way? I mean, just because I say it, so what? Yeah, Meryl.
So, hearing you speak about this, do you suppose that it's part of the grand plan that we were made mortal on purpose so that we could lead good lives? Because, I mean, it's conceivable if we were going to live forever, no matter what we did, we wouldn't be so good. I mean, do you think that's part of the big plan?
Okay, so let's look at it from both sides. So on the one hand, we could argue, as you just said, so knowing that we're mortal ends up sort of making many of us feel like we have to make every day count, or we have to make our life count and be meaningful in some way. Not waste it, and certainly not degrade it, right? Then what would it be to say that the Torah makes our days long? I could say, it makes our days meaningful. It makes our days worthy. But what does it mean? Is that what it means? It's just that we're using a kind of a quantitative term, but we really mean a qualitative term. So wait, there's chat stuff here. That's what, yes, but Sheva also means oath. Okay, so that was, I guess you said that before I said what I said. How come it says 3 chats, but I only have 1 chat? Did anybody else put in the chat? No. Okay, so yes, Len, we talked about that before, right? What you wrote in. Good. Sorry, I didn't see it before. Okay, but back to this. So does the image gives me length of days? If you learn the Torah, you'll live to be 120. If you don't learn the Torah, you'll only live to be, 100. Is that what it is? Yeah, Jen.
I don't know how literally they mean it, but it seems to me related. We also call the Torah our tree of life now,
Which
right?
we'll get to in a half a second.
Yeah, so I mean, that's also related to life in a particular way. I don't know if it's literally promising you 120 years, or now they say now we can live to 150 years, but I mean, it's definitely tied in with our whole concept of living life. So I guess I'm with Meryl that it might more mean quality than quantity, but, or I don't know, maybe it's bold enough. It seems unfair of it to make that claim when we all know, you know, Torah-centered people who didn't live, you know, past 50 or whatever. But
For sure, that's right. So that's the case. But 50, forget about 50 past, they didn't reach 40.
right.
So,
So yeah. So I guess I'm with Meryl. I guess I just talked myself into Meryl's point.
Is it, can I say something?
yeah, sure.
So if we're given the length of days, that would be a good thing, so we can do more good things and lead useful, worthwhile lives. If our days, and do a lot of good stuff. If our days are not, if we're not given the length of days, that just means that much less that we'll be able to accomplish, serve, whatever that all encompasses. Is that what you're trying to,
I don't know. I'm trying to get people to talk. That's what I'm
Oh,
trying to do.
okay.
So what about when we talk about our experience of time? And you know, we sometimes go, wow, that passed by so fast. That vacation was, you know, it in the blink of an eye. Or people talk about these kinds of things that feel longer than they were. Like, I listened to that person speak. They only spoke for 12 seconds. It felt like they were speaking forever, you know. So, you know,
Sometimes I think we have moments that feel eternal, though, in a good way. Every once in a great while.
I guess that's what I'm driving. I'm driving at the fact that somehow, you know, so many people have talked about this. Time as, you know, as a human experience is not a mathematical entity. It's not about, you know, a chronometer that can actually measure how many seconds or nanoseconds or hours or what, or weeks or years. Human experience of time takes place often in a very different dimension. It is an experience of time, and yet it's not about clock time, right? It's not clock time. It's some other sense that we have.
Isn't it Kant who tried to explain time as it's more like something that's for human understanding, not something that's independent. Like you put on glasses so we can interact in the world, and that's time and space. They're not actually things in the way we think of them.
Well, I'm not so deep as Kant. I'm just,
No, but I think we get those moments.
I think in some ways you're deeper.
Thanks.
I think we get those moments where you feel like this is an eternal second. Something is happening that's so amazing that
Right.
it's, you know.
Yeah, because I'm dealing with the fact that here's my wristwatch. I got it. I can really count the seconds. But no, there are times when just, you know, we're stuck in some situation and we want it to keep on going. We just want one more second of it, you know, or
Have you had the experience where you have that experience and yet you can step back into it at any second? I've had it in both very good situation and very bad situation, but I feel like it's always ongoing and it's always there. If I think about it for a second, I'm right there again.
So memories are a realm where we come back into time that theoretically is not there anymore, right? But we somehow can transport ourselves back into that kind of time. Yeah, Sandra.
I keep thinking,
Very hard to hear you. Talk, you have to come closer.
I keep thinking that the study of Torah or being engaged in Torah is an enrichment, and therefore it changes the experience of time. I keep thinking that's what we're talking about, is how we experience this. Sometimes I've been in shul and I walk out feeling like I just stepped out of a different dimension. I'm so energized. I'm so filled with whatever. I'm not sure. And I've often, often experienced it on high holidays. Sometimes there's the up and the down and the praying and the this and the singing and the chanting, and yet it just I keep feeling like I'm racing up. And it's all about being engaged in Torah, engaged with God, if you will. And so my experience of an hour a day, a minute is totally different than installing an air conditioner experience for an hour.
You do that?
Oh, I just did it the other day with my cousin. Yes.
Very good. All right. That's good. That's a good skill to have these days.
That's right.
That's
He
right.
did the heavy lifting.
Right. So I punctured what you were creating. No,
Right.
what you're speaking very beautifully about. If that's great for you to have that kind of experience is really something. It's really quite special and important.
So sometimes I think what about is
Now you come closer to the mic.
Oh, so I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so sometimes I think what's being talked about is not just the physicality, so to speak, of the days, but the essential experience of it. Because, people can have a number of days, 70 years, 120 years, whatever it is, and they can be just this dreadful, mundane experience. Other people will have these moments of ecstasy. I'm going to say something now. I don't know if you've ever read this, but I'm always struck by it. Jack Kornfield, a well-known psychologist, once wrote a book after the ecstasy, The Laundry. And there's something so powerful about the juxtaposition. There's this moment that's out of time. Okay, I'm going to go there. But you can't stay there because we are mortal. We are in time and space. The molecules do move very slowly, but they move, and so we are lucky and privileged, I think, to have these moments out. I'm going to say it again, out of time, because that to me is incredible moments of real joy, real connection. Okay, I'm done with. Yeah.
So. Thank you. I mean, yes, that's all. I think part of what the Zohar is hoping for and reaching for. Specifically, the Zohar sees it in Torah itself.
Yes.
Not necessarily in prayer, for instance. Prayer is a different kind of experience.
Right.
I want to focus a little bit on long and short. Mortality means that no matter how long our life is, it's always too short, right? So mortality is about shortness of life. To lengthen our days, to have long days, is to have days that are somehow participating in something that is immortal. There are other places where we have contrast between short and long. For instance, shortness of breath. Right? We have, when the Israelites are told by Moses, this ecstatic kind of, Moses apparently has an experience a little bit like what you were just saying or what you were just describing. He has the burning bush encounter, and he has this whole revelation from God, and he goes and he tells the people of Israel and says, "Velo shamu Moshe mikotzer ruach." They couldn't hear, they couldn't accept what Moses was telling them because of shortness of breath, shortness of spirit. We don't like to feel shortness of breath. How do we try to convince ourselves or other people to settle down, to sort of like free ourselves a little bit?
To breathe.
Take the long, deep breath, right?
Right.
Those long, slow, deep breaths.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the idea of God sometimes being short-tempered, and other times being erech apayim, right? Which means long-faced or long in the breathing of through the nose, right? And that long, lengthy breathing is about being calm and ultimately being accepting and forgiving. So, all right, hold on a second. We'll get to what Larry says in a half a second. So that participation in something that defeats the mortality, the exhaustion of energy and resources that we might have, the sense of fallibility that we might have. That's part of the longness, the lengthiness of our days. And for the Zohar, that's part of what it means to study Torah, to engage in Torah. For the Zohar is not about information. It's not about learning, more commentaries or any of that stuff. It's about entering into the divine consciousness, which of course has no sense of time. So going out of time, but in our own time, right? And that gift is a gift of love and acceptance and embrace and forgiveness. So it sort of can take us out of the tension, out of the anxiety that we might be feeling about ourselves, about life, about some situation that we might be in, some relationship that we might be in. That's the freedom, right? To shake off all of those things. No, I don't have to punch the clock. I don't have to get to work in another 4 seconds. I don't have to worry about finding a parking spot. I don't have to worry about the traffic is holding me back, right? I have an extension, right? When people ever ask for an extension, like I need an extension for my taxes. What's that about? It's about a forgiveness, right? It's about saying, okay, I'll let you go a little bit longer. I'll let you go, do what you have to do on your speed. I'll give you a little bit more, right? It's length of days, length of days. Let me see for a second what Larry wrote. I heard Reb Zalman ask, when you are awake, can you wake up more? All right. Perhaps this describes orech yamim, length of days, right? To take that day that you're in and multiply the minute that you're in, right? Multiply those dimensions of time, those levels of experience of the time. Yeah, good. Yeah, somebody, yes, Sandra, you wanted to say something, yeah.
Well, sometimes what I think this does is sometimes meditation will take you there out of time. And also when Moshe tries to talk to the people and they have the shortness of breath, what I hear, they don't have a frame of reference. And when you've had, may I call it, an ecstatic experience and others have not, there's this real sense of separation because you can't tell them. You can say, but they can't, they can hear the words, but they cannot comprehend. Because they haven't, I really think there are times when people need to have been there. Otherwise, it's just words.
So this is a terrible problem. It's a serious problem. And this is the problem of every Navi, of every prophet. Because if I have my own ecstatic experience and I've reached nirvana or whatever you want to call it, and that's all good for me, and I've lengthened my days to infinity, my consciousness is free, all that kind of stuff, that's great, good for you. But the whole point of being a prophet is that it's not about me. I have something that I need to communicate to you. I need to get it across to you. I need to make you understand. So if we posit that there's this unbridgeable gap between the prophet's spiritual experience and the other people who don't have that ecstatic, entree, then no one could ever be a prophet. And of course, we know that prophets have a pretty frustrating history. But the point of prophecy is that God wants the plain people who are installing the air conditioners to hear these words and to somehow get, not everybody's going to be a Moses, not everybody's going to be an Elijah or an Isaiah, but the Torah is for everybody. So how do you bridge that paradox, or how do you bridge that gap, that wall? How do you jump that wall that you're talking about, which is a real problem? Nevertheless, that's absolutely necessary as what God is trying to call the prophet to accomplish. So that's the whole point, is God says, tell them this. Not, oh, you had this wonderful experience and now you want to share. Thank you for sharing, Moses. No, this is, Moses is on commission. He is being told, get this across to them, right? So that's the problem. All right, let's just finish off this little paragraph a little bit more anyway.
You say that as if I have some idea of where we are.
If you don't have an idea, how are we going to go further? If you don't have the idea who, what, then what? We're up to, let's put it at, for whoever engages in Torah. The third line from the bottom, last two words.
Whoever engages in Torah, grasping her, grasps the tree of life. And if he lets go of the tree of life, the tree of death looms over him and grasps him, as is written. If you slacken in the day of adversity, how narrow is your strength? If you slacken, losing your grip on Torah in the day of adversity,
Tsar kochecha.
How narrow is your strength? What does Zohar kohecha mean?
Tsar koach ko. Tsar koach ko.
The strength of ko is narrow, for it is always on the right, guarding a person constantly when he follows paths of Torah, thrusting evil aside, preventing it from approaching him or accusing him. But when a person strays from paths of Torah, letting go of her, then the strength of ko is narrow because evil, the left, dominates the person, thrusting ko aside until its space is painfully constricted.
Let's just look for a second at 244.
Strength of ko is narrow. Ko, here, thus, designates Shekhinah, the divine presence, which is always right here.
So let's just take that to heart. It's always right here. This, right here, right here. Literally, maybe I could say it another 25 times. It's right here. So that's the ko. And then the question is, how powerful is that effect of thisness, of this presence? Presence being present, right here, present, right here, right now. When we say the divine presence, is it present or not? You know, as an abstraction, it's an abstraction, but it's right here. Do we know it's right here? Do we see it's right here? Do we feel it's right here? Do we experience that it's right here? That's part of the question. Last week, I highlighted this, and often when we daven, that's what God says at the end of the Shema, right? He says, I am the eternal, your almighty God, who took you out of the land of Egypt, right? Lihiyot lachem le'elokim, to become for you into an almighty. Ani Hashem Elokechem. I am the almighty. I am the eternal, your almighty. I am your almighty. But am I for you? Lihiyot lachem le'elokim. Am I the Almighty for you? I know that I'm the Almighty. I know that I'm your Almighty. You wouldn't be here without me right now, right here. But for you, am I your Almighty? I took you out of Egypt. I freed you from political, physical bondage to get you to a different place where out of that freedom, you could then embrace me as your God. I'll be God and I'll be your God, whether you like it or not. But I don't want that to be just an abstraction. I want you to feel that I'm your God. And of course, that's the limit on God's power. God can't do that. God can take us out of Egypt, but God can't make us our God, right? God can't make us accept God as our God. Let's stop here and we'll come back. We'll look at this paragraph a little bit more next time, Sandra, next time. Remember it for next time. Okay? Zeig gesund, everybody.